Start with a story that's affecting many households across this province. There's no end to the water woes for residents. Some areas have had dry taps for weeks now, with a variety of excuses and reasons coming from both Rand Water and Johannesburg Water. Meanwhile, residents' frustrations boiling over fast. Mahlomola Mehlo is Rand Water CEO, and he joins us now from here in Johannesburg for more. Mahlomola, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure you must understand the frustration that so many households and so many people across Gauteng have gone through, not just today, not just this week, some for weeks without water. We hear on social media and various media platforms people's experiences being reported on, but the main one being that there's been a lack of communication about when they can expect water to be back and for the reasons for the water being unavailable in the first place. What is the update you can give us right now this evening?
Well, good evening, Marcel. Good evening to the viewers at home. Well, we can report that the progress towards recovery of our levels is on good track. As at this morning, we were sitting at around 39% recovery from the 30%. The areas that were previously reported with water shortages, we are in constant communication with the affected municipalities, and we are aware of those areas. And as at this morning, we had just one or two areas that were reported in Ekurhuleni. We had resolved issues in city of Johannesburg. Certainly, we had also resolved issues in the city of Tshwane.
Now, explain to me what it means. If you say you're making good progress and you spoke about being 30% closer to where you should be to allow water to flow again. When I'm an ordinary citizen who pays my rates in Johannesburg, and that's information I'm being given via the councillor in the ward or whoever the spokesperson in the area is, what does that mean specifically if you say that you're 30% in terms of the route back to providing water?
Well, our operation philosophy operating such a complex water system is such that we need to maintain our reservoir levels between 60 and 80% at any given time. And there are good reasons for that, Marcel. Key amongst those is that you have higher lying areas who rely on these reservoir levels for them to get water in the first place. But secondly, we also need these healthy storage levels to allow ourselves time and space to be able to attend to the infrastructure failures. So on a daily basis, we experience quite a number of infrastructure failures, which some of them we don't even get to know about. And the reason for that is, whilst we are busy attending to those failures, our reservoirs, when they are at healthy levels, we are able to continue to supply water without interrupting the supply. And those are the two key reasons why we need to recover those levels to between 60 and 80%.
Why do we have infrastructure failures? Is it as a result of a lack of maintenance? Because an infrastructure doesn't just fail overnight. Surely this is something that can be seen coming by your engineers months, if not years in advance.
Well, I can assure you the infrastructure is well maintained. You will have infrastructure failure for a number of reasons. Power outage is key amongst those. You would know that we rely on power supply from Eskom, from some of these metros, for us to be able to pump the water to the municipalities. But in addition to that, you have aged infrastructure that needs to be renewed. And as a result, you will also have shutdowns that you will need to actually implement as you replace the infrastructure. And during those shutdowns, of course, you are not able to pump water. And when you have power outages, you are also not able to pump water. So this is part of infrastructure renewal, if you like, that has to be ongoing, because at the end of the day, you have infrastructure that ages, that has to be renewed so that you can ensure sustainability.
Is that on track? If a piece of infrastructure fails now, is it part of a plan to fix up that infrastructure so that it no longer fails?
Well, we have a maintenance strategy that has got quite a few components to it. So you have your predictive maintenance, where you plan these things in advance, all the way to the breakdowns, which are emergency breakdowns that you do not plan for and you have to attend to them. In addition to these, you also have your renewal strategies that speaks to replacement of infrastructure. In certain instances, it also speaks to augmentation of infrastructure, wherein we anticipate the growing demands. We have to put the infrastructure in place on time, such that when such demand grow, we are able to meet and cater for such demands.
Now, one of the reasons you did not bring up, and it's been reported over the last few days, that one of the issues has been with regards to the abstraction license permits with regards to the Vaal Dam. According to this report in Times Live, Rand Water has exceeded its limit of what its license permits it to abstract from the Vaal Dam. Is that also a reason for the shortfall that we're experiencing across so many areas in Gauteng?
Not at all, Marcel. It is true that we are exceeding our abstraction license, but that is not the reason for these curtailments. What that means is that our license is currently sitting at 1,347 million cubic meters per annum. We are abstracting at over 1,680 million cubic meters per annum. And the department, who is the authority that issues these licenses, is aware of this. In fact, we are in the process of renewing our license to meet the growing demands.
What can citizens of Gauteng expect going forward? There are some that have been without water. I see various reports for 10 days, some for even longer. And they say they pay their rates, they pay their water, and yet it is it's a lottery many times as to whether or not they're going to have water. And of course, the South African reality is also there's some days that you'll be without water as well as electricity. You've spoken about the reasons for these issues. How are you going about communicating these outages? You say if it's to do with maintenance, they need to be reported in advance. How does your communication system work in terms of warning people that their water is going to be out, but also letting them know when they can really realistically expect their water to come back on?
Well, firstly, Marcel, in terms of the areas that experienced water shortages, we are keeping track of those. I think one message that we just need to send at this point is that our reservoirs have stabilized through that recovery process, and the areas that are still experiencing water shortages, they should report those to their municipalities. The reason for that is we are running two separate systems. There is a reticulation system that is operated by the municipality. Then you have a bulk system that is operated by Rand Water. So we are not able to have a view of those individual complaints. However, as and when we become aware of those individual complaints, we are able to direct them to the municipality, and we're also able to share the latest from Rand Water's perspective in as far as water shortages are concerned.
So where should people be getting their information from, or if they will have to query anything, do they come straight to you, or do they need to go to the municipality?
The municipalities are the authorities, so they need to go to the municipalities. That is their first port of call. However, there is nothing stopping them from inquiring with us. We also issue media statements, which we publish, and we also publish them on social media. So we try to be to engage as much as possible with the communities.
I'm sure, just before I let you go, I'm sure you understand how frustrating this is for many citizens, not just for them not to have water in their homes and the impact that has on their personal hygiene and health, right in the middle of a pandemic that insists on us washing our hands and keeping everything as clean as possible, but the knock-on to schools that are needing to close down because of there being no water, as well as businesses needing to close down. A word on that before I let you go.
Well, absolutely. We do understand the disruption that the water shortages do cause. However, Marcel, we can no longer postpone the messaging of using water sparingly, especially now because we are entering the summer season. In the main, the major cause of this, the real cause of these curtailments, is that the consumption on the downstream side of the value chain is high. It remains to be high. And we are also going to be kicking into the second gear in terms of our water conservation demand management, where we will be further educating the communities, but we will also be keeping a strict curtailments in place in those areas that have been identified as high wastage areas. We have a scientifically based approach that we have computed, and we are currently in the process of consulting with other customers as well. And the message is that we need to conserve water, and we have to come together in making sure that it is all hands on deck, and we make sure then that we can sustain the provision of water going forward.
That's Mahlomola Mehlo. He is the Rand Water COO. Thank you so much for your time this evening.